The misconception that Islam condones forced conversion is deeply rooted in history, particularly in the tumultuous period of the Crusades. From the 11th century onwards, Christian Europe and the Islamic world clashed in a series of religious wars. These conflicts, fueled by political and economic ambitions, often painted a distorted picture of Islam in the Western imagination. Propaganda from the Crusades frequently depicted Muslims as aggressors who imposed their faith by the sword. This narrative, while inaccurate, served to justify the Crusades themselves. It created a potent and lasting image of Islam as inherently intolerant, an image that would be further reinforced during the era of European colonialism. As European powers expanded their empires, encountering Muslim societies across Asia and Africa, they carried this historical baggage with them. Colonial rhetoric often presented indigenous religions as inferior, justifying their subjugation in the name of Christian civilization. This period saw the forced conversion of native populations to Christianity, further solidifying the misconception that religious coercion was a uniquely Islamic phenomenon. The historical reality, however, tells a different story. The spread of Islam, from its origins in 7th century Arabia to its global presence today, has been largely characterized by peaceful interaction, intellectual exchange, and voluntary acceptance. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, unequivocally rejects any notion of coercion in matters of faith. Numerous verses emphasize the freedom of individuals to choose their own religious path, without any form of compulsion or pressure. One of the most powerful pronouncements on this subject is found in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 256. Let there be no compulsion in religion. This simple yet profound statement forms the cornerstone of Islamic teachings on religious freedom. It unequivocally declares that faith must be a matter of personal conviction, not external force. Another verse from Surah Yunus reiterates this principle. If it had been your Lord's will, they would all have believed, all who are on earth. Will you then compel mankind, against their will, to believe? Quran 10:99. These verses highlight the Islamic belief that true faith cannot be imposed. It must come from within, a genuine acceptance of the heart. The Quran emphasizes that every individual has the right to choose their own path, and this freedom of choice is to be respected and upheld by all believers. The Quranic verses on freedom of religion offer a clear and unambiguous refutation of the myth of forced conversion in Islam. The historical spread of Islam stands as a testament to its peaceful nature. Far from being imposed by force, Islam spread through a dynamic combination of trade, intellectual exchange, and the inherent appeal of its message. Traders, scholars, and mystics played a pivotal role in carrying the teachings of Islam to distant lands. These individuals, driven by a desire to share their faith, engaged with local communities through dialogue and respectful interaction. In places like Egypt and India, Islam's message of equality and social justice resonated deeply with populations often living under oppressive social structures. The early Muslim rulers, guided by Islamic principles of tolerance, allowed conquered populations to retain their own faiths and practices. This approach, vastly different from the religious coercion practiced by other empires of the time, fostered an environment where Islam could flourish organically. The vibrant intellectual and cultural exchanges that characterize the Islamic Golden Age further demonstrate the religion's inherent openness. Scholars from diverse backgrounds flocked to centers of learning like Baghdad and Cordoba, contributing to advancements in science, philosophy, and the arts. This flourishing of knowledge and cross-cultural collaboration stands in stark contrast to the image of a closed and intolerant society, often associated with forced conversion. The historical trajectory of Islam's expansion reveals a religion spread not by the sword, but by the power of its message, the character of its adherents, and the principles of tolerance enshrined in its teachings. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Islamic history is the concept of jizyah. Often misconstrued as a punitive tax on non-Muslims, jizyah needs to be understood within its proper historical and legal framework. Jizyah was a tax levied on non-Muslim citizens living within an Islamic state, exempting them from military service, which was a religious obligation for Muslims. In return for this exemption, non-Muslim communities were granted protection and security by the Muslim rulers. It was, in essence, a form of civic duty in exchange for exemption from military service, and the right to practice one's religion freely. Moreover, jizya was not imposed universally. Women, children, the elderly, the poor, religious scholars, and those living in monasteries were all exempt from paying it. Historical records reveal that in some instances, jizyah payments were even lower than the taxes levied on Muslims. The concept of jizyah cannot be viewed in isolation from the broader historical context of religious tolerance in Islamic societies. While it may seem incongruous with modern notions of secularism, jizyah served a specific purpose within the socio-political structure of pre-modern Islamic states. To interpret it as evidence of forced conversion is a gross misrepresentation of its historical reality. It is crucial to engage with such historical concepts with nuance and objectivity, avoiding anachronistic judgments that fail to consider the complexities of the past.